oh, she's like really going through things.
Yeah. Don't do that, Christian girls.
I felt like then I could talk about it more, and it was a more normal thing to talk about.
I am the kitten of Judah.
Meow. And the part that like makes me so emotional is my dad, our dad, had sat up and was like, I will bring you to the hospital right now. Like, do we need to bring you to the hospital? And I think it was just like seeing the worry in dad and like the seriousness of you're not okay.
Yeah, you don't see that very often with Dad.
Yeah. And like I didn't mean it in that way. At least like when I was saying it, I just meant like I don't want to like,
I just like to cut off my feelings.
yeah, I just want to stop thinking. But also like just seeing that in dad just made me, like, it always makes me really emotional thinking about. And that also, that moment, I brought Kleenex.
She did come prepared for this. I'll quick press the video thing. Would this be a good time for an ad spot?
That moment changed. I feel like not changed Dad's my relationship, but like I think that's when Dad saw like, oh, she's like really going through things. And the really funny part about after that, like I'd gotten myself together, everything was fine. I went out to make a sandwich for work the next day for my lunch, and I was cutting my bread like a dumb person in my hand with like the knife for bread, and I went too far and sliced my hand. And like it's not that big of a deal. Like it's a small cut, put a Band-Aid on it. I fell apart.
Food can be very emotional sometimes.
I fell apart. Like I think somebody else ended up making my sandwich for me because I was just like, yeah. I think that's really funny. But then after that panic attack, I've had a couple more, and that's usually my sign that I am dealing with depression and I'm not accepting the fact that I'm dealing with something. Because I had another one, and when I haven't had one in a long time, but when I had that one, I think Dad has been like, I'm the person to help her with this. So when that happens, then whoever's in the room, he normally kicks out and just lets me go through that instead of being like when I went through the first time, somebody in the room was saying that things that are true, but like when you're dealing with it, that's not going to help them. And it's like, you're not the only one feeling this. Everyone right now is struggling. And what you're struggling with does not compare to what they're struggling with.
Like those Christian girls and the whole single thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do that, Christian girls.
Yeah. So I think after that, he accepted that when I'm dealing with it, it's just going to be us in the room. Which is also like you feel really cared for when that happens. At least I did. But yeah, I think I've had... that was a thing. And then it just spiraled again that winter. Winter is not a good... There's no sun.
Everyone deals with seasonal depression around winter time. It gets so blech around here.
Yeah. And that second time, or when it really got bad, was sparked with me being single. And but the difference between the first time and that time is that I was able to see things that were happening and go, hey, this happened before when I was depressed last summer. Oh, that's what's going on. So I had, I think the big thing for me was I had a panic attack at church. Um, and I am a Medin and a Navy SEAL. So it started before going on for the offering song. And I made it through that offering song and then got off the stage when the fell apart.
Well done.
And I couldn't put a finger on. Well, like I remember feeling like I was gonna have a heart attack. But like, why? I was sitting in church. Why did I feel like I was gonna have a heart attack? And then I was able to go recognize what was going on and go tell somebody that what was going on. So I went to mom and dad, which the first time it happened, it took months for me to go tell mom and dad. And this time, it really got bad in January, and I told them in February. And I went to their room, fell apart like I do. And, but I think it was just mostly me getting over. I don't like telling people when I'm struggling. I think that's normal for people.
Yeah.
You don't want to admit when you're struggling. Because for me, I don't want to seem like I'm being weak. Because I'm a Navy SEAL.
I just don't like to bother people with it.
And yeah, so I don't want people to know that I'm not strong and that I think for me it's, I just bit my tongue. I think for me it's, I don't want to seem weak and I don't want to seem like I'm not trusting in God and like a whole list of things. But I told them what was going on. And the minute I finally told somebody what was going on, like I felt a lot of relief in that of being like, you did better this time than you did last time. And it's not that hard to tell somebody. And then after that, my parents definitely checked in a lot more than they were before. And I felt like then I could talk about it more and it was a more normal thing to talk about. And I wasn't crazy.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think at least that I have acknowledged. I've gone through since then a lot. I think I've done a lot better and I haven't gone down a deep, deep hole, but there are lessons that I learned the first time to help this with time to I'll just have a night where I'm going through a spiral. And it's funny because this happened literally the other night. I was wearing a sweatshirt that I have that says Lion of Judah. And my grandpa had made a comment about it. He's like, "Oh, you're the Lion of Judah?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, my sweatshirt says it." And then I was telling him that I've had a lot of work done. I've had surgery on my feet, and when I had that, I was on pain meds, and it was the third night or something. So when you're on those pain meds, you need to wake up every couple hours to take pain meds. So you're not sleeping through the night. And I was all excited because it was my first night back in my room because I had slept on the couch a couple of the nights. And finally back in my room, I'm getting some sense of independence back. And I woke up before my alarm went off, which irritated me first off. But I woke up because all of a sudden my covers felt like that was suction cupping me to the bed. Not a normal thing, very much a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
Of the enemy, whoosh. And I am human, and so normally if when something spiritual happens and it's very obvious that there's something happening, your first thing is to be afraid. And I was high on pain meds. And I said, "I don't have time for you right now." I'm pretty sure I put my finger out. I said, "I don't have time for you right now, okay? I don't have time for you. So you can leave because I don't have patience right now." And so I told my grandpa about that story, and I said I tried to bring back that mindset when I'm feeling spiritually attacked. And I went to bed that night and we're planning a wedding and a lot of life changes and a lot of financial things. And so I'm laying in bed and I start thinking about money and all like the really expensive things we have coming up. And I start getting like, how are we going to pay for these things? And then I start going to things that people have said to me that really hurt still and just spiraling. And I start crying on brand. And then I go, wait, hold on a second. These are not my thoughts. And then I bring back like, I just told him, okay, I don't have time for you right now. And I go, these are not my thoughts. Whoever's in my head right now, you have to leave. And I remember feeling all of a sudden this light, airy feeling.
I am the kitten of Judah. Meow.
and then I was like, wait, did this really happen? And so I started. I was like, okay, remember that one time when this person said this? To try to be like, okay, like, go back to those thoughts. Like, see if I could go back to those thoughts. Dumb. And there was just a wall. And I could not go back to those thoughts. And then I was like, I am the Lion of Judah. I can't forget. Like, you just forget sometimes of like, this works. You have control. And so that is the thing from being depressed that I learned that helps me to this day about getting out of a spiral that's just going to bring you down.
It's just declaring, I ain't got time for this.
Yeah.
Like bronchitis.
Who do you think you are? That's what I got.
Start insulting those demonic spirits.
Yeah. I would like to know the audacity that you think you have right now.
I'm a lion. Get the crap out of here.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why that helps.
Too. This one. Not the middle one, but this one.
Yeah. I don't know why that helps and like why I can't be like that all the time. Or like why I forget to be like that all the time. But I feel like that is a personality trait that I have that brings laughter to a lot of people.
That is true. You are very entertaining.
So I have realized that I just get back into the mindset of you're high on pain meds. And the amount of confidence I had back then.
Well, you know what? Actually, like when you're kind of spiraling in negative thoughts, it is like a pain medication.
Mm-hmm.
And you think if I keep taking this, like somehow get rid of the pain, but it adds more pain. So it's like it's a false, medication. And then you realize, and I think this is important, like you realize kind of what you had said, this isn't me. And for people who have dealt with depression, like at some point in time you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Like remember back to that, because that's a lot closer to who you actually are. And kind of like what Debra was saying, go back to that, be like, that joyful person, that's me. This ain't me. And then you give those depressive thoughts a piece of your mind.
You say, I would like to know the audacity of you right now.
And then tell them to bugger off.
Yeah.
That may have been a swear word over in English. I apologize to all of our listeners. I wasn't trying to give anything explicit there for a second, but like, why stay in depression? Now, of course, I understand it is hard, and people say, like you had said, there are people who are dealing with worse things than you. Kind of, why do you think that you deserve to feel something right now? And something I learned recently from a conversation I had with a pastor in town, because I'd done a lot of like suppressing, like not really knowing that that's what I was doing. I thought I was just like getting over things like really quick. And he said, we were talking. I planned to hang out with him just to hang out with him, and we were talking about something. And he goes, "Do you know that you look like you want to cry twice already in our conversation?" I was like, "Well, that's kind of news to me because I'm not really much of a crier." And then all of a sudden, I became very aware of all my emotions. And he goes, "Isn't it exhausting trying to like not cry and like keep that down, like suppress all of that and just punch it down?" And I'm going, "It is exhausting, but I'm not going to act like it's exhausting." As I'm fighting back tears now at that point in time. And he was just telling me, he's like, "You know what? God actually wants us to feel the emotions because it's a chance to relate back to him and for him to relate to you." And I was like, "But like anger, the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God." And that is true. But you can experience anger and not do something stupid with it.
Mhm.
You can experience sadness and not do something stupid with it. You can experience joy, not do something stupid with it. You know, the full spectrum of emotions. I don't know all the anxiety. You can feel anxiety and not do something stupid with it. And he said, "No, God gave you those so that you could relate to him like anyone would in a healthy relationship. You don't just show people your joyful side." He said, "That's not healthy." But he said, "You also don't just express your anger and expect to have a good relationship. If you want someone to know you, have to give them the full range, but don't do something stupid." And in those moments you feel those things, bring it to God and cry to him if that's what you got to do. Bawl your eyes out. Yell at him if that's what you got to do. Shout at him. Celebrate with him, whatever the emotion is. And then as I'm like in this, just like my chin is quivering, which you can't really see underneath my beard, he just stopped and just looked at me with the most caring look on his face and goes, "You can cry." And I broke down. I think, why did it take someone telling me it's okay to cry for me to cry? And, you know, a lot, in the Christian circle, you hear like, "No, you're okay. You're okay. Like, you're okay. Trust in God." You can trust in God and still be angry.
Oh yeah, I feel like a lot of it is like, well, I can't cry because then it's gonna mean that I don't trust in God, or
No.
I can't be mad because it says that I'm not trusting in God's timing.
And it's even more an expression of that trust to open that up to him. Like, you open up fully to the people you trust.
Mhm.
And you hide this stuff from the people you don't. And God's like, "No, you expressing that to me shows a level of trust. And I'll take care of and help you through that." And he's going like, "I want you to come to me and ask for help. But come to me as you are, because that's where my grace comes in. In your weakness, the full range of them, I'm made strong." And that's where his glory shines, because then you discover you didn't need the false pain medication. You didn't need that relationship. You didn't need the constant stress and strain of chasing the dollar or the alcohol or the drug or whatever, sex, whatever it may be. Because then God fills that. Because you admitted it. And I don't know why in the world it took me 30 years to get to that point.
Feel to cry.
To
I haven't cried since I was born.
But I cried a lot. But like for me, I didn't really probably realize this because I wouldn't admit it to myself, is I dealt with anxiety and I dealt with different levels of depression from the end of my first relationship, which all my family can attest to. I did not handle with the most grace. I did not shine the glory of God in those years. But I subdued it all in that time, and I think in that kind of more or less kind of emotionally constipated myself.
You're like, I'm fine. No, I'm fine.
Yeah, because if I cry, it shows I'm not trusting. If I admit I'm mad, it shows I'm not trusting. And God was going, you aren't trusting while you're hiding everything. And it's made all the difference now, as I think my wife maybe is not used to a more emotional version of me now. But it's opening the doors for different things that I want, and allowing breakthroughs to happen. And that's no pun intended with the band. But I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear. You can love the Lord with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength. And you can deal with the moments you aren't okay.
You can be frustrated.
You can be mad. You could be sad.
Literally, I'm going through something right now that maybe will be a podcast episode later on. And I cried to Ethan about it 2 days ago, and then fell apart in my mom's room last night. And I, while falling apart, said, I feel like I shouldn't be falling apart because it feels like I'm not trusting in God. I am trusting in God, but I'm so frustrated right now about what's going on. So I feel like I can't cry, but then I keep everything inside, and then it just explodes. But I am trusting in God that this is going to get figured out. But I'm so tired and frustrated.
And that's when God comes in and gives you the strength you need. And it doesn't come in ways you'd think. We're just all, like, for you, there was a time where all of a sudden you felt that sudden strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not always the case. Would you attest to that?
No. Yes, I would.
Yeah, I would not. I don't feel like agreeing with you right now.
No, yeah. No.
I am so mad at you for having this conversation.
No,
it's gonna burn.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And so be ready for that. But I think you need to know that. Like, don't sit in the anger and the depression.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sit in the anxiety. Don't accept that as a part of your identity. Like Debra said, remember back to who you really are. Because when you are truly joyful, that is the absolute closest to who you are that reality could ever be.
Who God intended you to be.
Yeah. And if you don't believe in God, that's fine. We could talk about it.
We can change your opinion later.
Yeah. But you, right, even if you don't believe in God, you don't want to believe that you're a mess up and that you're doomed to stay in that position of depression and anxiety, right? Then you get to the point of, I would really like a break where all of this ends. And here's the truth. You could shut off all your emotions and mental capacity, you become a psychopath. Or, sadly, something else that we've seen is people give in to that and they've ended their lives because they believed in an identity that wasn't real and in a false reality that could have changed. Now, if you're there, like, comment. Let's have a conversation. Message us. Welcome to the Medins at gmail.com. Send me an email.
There are Medins that have gotten to that point.
Yeah, and we've all had different struggles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a wide variety of things that we can address. Or maybe we can't fix. We aren't certified therapists.
No, some of us have been RA trained, but
yeah.
that
one
doesn't
of us
mean
is
that
a
much.
better RA than the other one. But let's talk and not get to that point, because that isn't who you really are, and that isn't reality. That it won't be your forever. And Debra can attest to this, right? You got out of it. Now you still deal with things come back.
Yeah, like when you get out, like you never fully. I feel like you never fully deal with it. You're human. Things are gonna come back, but then you have the tools. And you remember getting out of it. You've gotten out of it once. You can get out of it again.
Yeah. And like exercising, it's a muscle you have to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you do it, not saying that, oh, you need to dive into depression way more so you can get stronger at dealing with it. No. but you get better at dealing with it
Mhm.
to the point where all of a sudden something that took you a year to get out of takes 6 months. Something that took 6 months takes 3 months.
Mhm.
Something that took 3 months takes 1 month. Something that took 1 month took a week. Something that took a week, you get down to, hey, who the heck do you think you are? That ain't me.
Mhm.
Get the crap out of here. And then all of a sudden you're helping other people. And wouldn't that be nicer if that's how things went all the time?
Mhm. Especially if you knew that you were doing it.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you do get pats on the back. Sometimes you don't. But I think it was important for people to see that, like, the Medins, soon to be Gilbert, and us Medins, Greenwoods, Lexfolds, we deal with stuff. Like, we don't sit atop this massive mountain of untouchableness.
We're not perfect.
Yeah. And sorry if we make it look easy, and sorry if we make it seem like we are perfect. That's not our intent. But we've all been through different things, and we learned how to get through it. And so maybe it looks easy that way, but it only looks easy now because it sucked back then.
Mhm.
And there's other stories I'll get my siblings to tell me eventually.
PJ,
PJ, Sarah, Drew,
Catherine.
Catherine, Daniel. Daniel used to get bullied, and at some point I want to bring him up here to talk about that. Me breakups and feeling like a failure as a man. Like, I'm hopefully I won't have to talk about it for a while, but we aren't perfect, and we want you to know that, because we want you to feel like you can actually talk to us, whether it be comments in the podcast, emails, messages to our Facebook page, or DMing us on Instagram. And that's not shameless plugs. You can talk. And when you see us in real life, you can talk.
I'll probably cry.
Yeah. I might actually cry now too. What a treat that would be. How embarrassing for me, but what a treat it would be for you, maybe. So is there anything else, Debra, you'd want to say before we kind of say goodbye for this episode?
I had something, but I can't remember.
She'll cry about it later and then remember.
Probably. You'll get through it. Like, it doesn't define you. Everyone deals with things, just don't let it define you. You just know that it's a part of you, and you got to get through it.
Yeah, and you're all the stronger for it on the other side.
Yeah. You think it's a mountain? It's not even a hill.
Looks like one of those little ant dirt mounds.
Yeah.
Trust
me, I know a lot about mountains.
Debra barely hiked them growing up.
But they're forever on my body.
Oh, the croissant that she had. That's another story we should get her to tell sometime. Ask in the comments, hey, please, whole episode on that. What is it? But if you want to keep up with the conversations, hear the real stories, hear what Debra's talking about with her croissant or mountains, that she has such great experience with. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps immensely. You look down in our description. We also have partners and sponsors. This conversation was a little more serious, so I didn't really feel like there was a great place to put an ad spot. But go
Except for Luke Combs.
Yeah, who isn't an official sponsor? Just say
Yet.
yet. But check out Humble to increase your scent game. That's what I'm saying. I think I'm just gonna go with. Hopefully they'll adopt it eventually. And check out my friend Tom Glover at the Old Art House for all your artwork needs. You can check him out in the description. When you do that, helps us support our channel and make this more of a reality, and help us to even expand our resources to be able to hang out with you guys. So go follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and we will look forward to seeing you next time on...
Welcome to the Medins.
Yeah, welcome to the Medins.